Alright, I have gotten the engine out of my Jeep. As you can see, I mean, this engine looks a whole lot better than the one that's going in. I mean, I'm actually questioning that maybe this engine possibly is been rebuilt. This is a rebuilt engine that was put in. I mean, for a 13-year-old vehicle, it looks just awfully clean. So I might do a little digging and just see what I can find out, because if by chance it has been rebuilt recently, there could still be an existing warranty on it, which would be great. Anyway, here's the deal. I got it out without taking the front end off of my Jeep. I was able to lift it and clear the top. Here's what's left down on the inside. However, the point of me doing this, especially as not being a mechanic, for you, is to be able to learn from my mistakes. And I didn't jack up my radiator too bad, but I did get into it right there. I don't know if that's going to cause me to have to replace it or not. Hopefully it's not going to leak or anything like that, but hindsight being what it is, before I put the new motor back in, I'm taking the front end out. You know, overall, taking out the front end of this thing, it's probably going to take me maybe a half hour. And to save the worry of messing something up and costing myself another $100 or $200, having to replace something I damaged for being lazy or stupid, it's just not worth it. I did have to take out the fan, the electric fan assembly. As I was pulling the engine, it was pushing on that. I'm fortunate that nothing broke in the process of that happening. It's just pushing on it pretty hard. I'm going to go back over here to the engine. Now, I removed the engine block itself, the engine itself, from the mounts. I did not decide to remove the mounts from the frame. Reason being, those bolts are on there with like 6,000 foot-pounds of torque. I mean, it was really hard for me to break them loose. I did get one loose. They're in there, they're cantankerous. It just ended up being a whole lot easier to just get the bolts right off of the where it mounts to the block. Here are the bolts. These are 15mm bolts that go from the mount into the block. The tool that worked best for me when I was removing that was this guy right here. 15mm box-in wrench ratcheting. Now, those bolts are on there pretty tight. This isn't really that long of a wrench. This is probably an 8 or 9 inch wrench, and so it took some prying, because you don't really have anywhere to put any kind of like pry bar or whatnot. So it took some effort. But if you do it before you lower your Jeep down, then you got enough room underneath there to get in a good position to pull it. My recommendation: save yourself a little bit of hassle. Go to the store, buy a set of these, but buy the kind that swivel like this. It will make getting to some of those things so much easier. So buy some ratcheting box-in wrenches that have this on it right there. You're already going to be spending enough money as it is. I mean, another 20 or 30 bucks is worth it to get those. Plus, it gives you an excuse to get another set of tools, and you can tell your wife that you had to have them to get your Jeep out, and she'll understand. They don't question stuff like that. You know, if you tell them you have to have it for something necessary you're doing, then they just kind of like, oh, okay, whatever. So anyway, 15 millimeter. The electric fan assembly mounted with 10 millimeter. Of course, now you're looking at the transmission. Going around the transmission, there's actually two different sizes that you're going to need. The bolts that go from the engine into the transmission, I believe, are 12. Let me double check. Nope, not 12. They are. Maybe they're 15. Let me look. Yeah. 15. And the bolts going from the transmission to the engine are, what size is this? Well, that's strange, but it says 5/8. Actually, I think I used my 5/8 wrench. Obviously, millimeters though probably be your more accurate fit. I'm not seeing what wrench. I don't know, maybe 17 millimeter. Let me look. What is that? 17 millimeter. Let's see. Nope, not 17. Well, that's the reason I had to go with the 5/8 is because I don't have. It's probably a 16 millimeter. Problem is I don't have my all of my sockets for some reason skip 16 and 18. I had to go buy an 18 millimeter when I was trying to get off the. These are 18 millimeters right here. If you're going to try to remove the actual mounts from the frame of your car, you got to use 18 millimeter. So I had to go buy one. And anyway, so 5/8 worked on the transmission, where the bolt's going from the transmission into the engine. Otherwise, 15 though for the rest of them. All right. So here's the engine. Now that I got this guy out, I'm going to pull it up out of the way. Now you got to get your bell housing off, and the bolts for your bell housing are right back in here. I don't even know if you can see. You can kind of see it right there. See the silhouette. You got to pop that. You got to get that joker off, and man, I'm not looking forward to it at all. But it's got to come off. So I'm going to work on getting this off. Once I get this off, I'm going to reuse these valve covers. I'm going to remove my water pump, reuse that, and whatever else I can pull off the front of this, because it seems to be in much better shape. Get all that junk off of here, and then I'm going to start breaking this engine down. I'm going to hit it with wire brush, get the rust off of it. We'll go from there. Anyway, check back in here in a little while. Okay. Bell housing's off. Came off pretty easy. Of course, see, my engine was locked up, so some of y'all were probably like, why are you showing me where the bolts are at from, looking down at that angle? Why don't you just turn around from behind? Well, that's all fine and dandy, but the problem is, since it's locked up, I can't rotate it. So I just figured I'd show you where the first place I saw them. Anyway, bell housing's off. It takes a 14 millimeter wrench to get them off. Pretty easy, no big deal. So pop that off. Took my valve covers off. I'm going to use those on the next engine, and that's pretty much it. This is what's left. I got the heads on there still, and took off the water pump and fan. Gonna reuse that. No, buddy, don't mess with that. So anyway, that's what's left. pretty much going to probably stick this under my porch or something for now. Try to sell off any of the parts that are still good. But other than that, it's time to start cracking on this big boy. I'm going to rip all this junk off of it, put some of my stuff back on it. I'm going to clean it up, and rust proof it, and get going with it. So, check back in a little bit. Okay, I'm just doing this to get some references here, where certain things go. That goes on the back, where like certain plugs go. Gray goes there. These two right here came off the throttle body. Okay, we got those there. This went off the AC compressor. Okay, this thing, this bolt right here, has a ground on it. I just pulled the hose off of here. This goes there. Three grounds underneath. What about that guy there? Okay, fuel rail bolts, 8mm, a little over an inch, inch and a quarter.